Welcome to Alpha Wolf Capital. I'm Tim, and I want to personally thank you for stopping by. This channel is designed to help small companies, both public and private, gain exposure with potential consumers, investors, even partners. Take, for example, today's guest, CEO Michael Murray from Kopin Corporation. Kopin Corporation is a leading developer and provider of high performance, application specific optical solutions, consisting of high resolution microdisplays, microdisplay subassemblies, and related components for defense, enterprise, industrial, and consumer products. Their products are used for soldier, avionic, armored vehicle, industrial, public safety, and medical headsets. 3D optical inspection systems, and consumer augmented reality and virtual reality wearable headset systems. But I'll let Michael tell you more about that in just a minute. This is not to be taken as investment advice. I am not a certified financial planner. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. I encourage everyone to do their own due diligence. Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Capital coming at you with a follow-up, a long overdue follow-up, just because I know Michael's been extremely busy and I've been pretty busy myself. So we finally get the opportunity to catch up. Michael Murray from Kopin, ticker symbol KOPN. Michael, first thing I want to say to you, man, is congratulations on all the successes of the things that matter for Kopin for the future. And I'm sorry about what you're having to deal with from an overhang of something from years and years ago.
No, I appreciate it, Tim, and thanks for having us back. I always enjoy talking with you. And yeah, I think, going back to when we first spoke, the company has executed very, very well. And whether it be our order book, which is now at record levels, our revenue are hitting record levels and increasing quarter over quarter, as is our gross margin. And I think that's really where, if you look at the gross margin platform for the company, it's executing now as well. So we're definitely executing the way that I said we would. And I'm really proud of the team for all the things that we've accomplished this year. And we've done some tremendous things. Unfortunately, the overhang still exists on the stock because of the pending judgment in our case in Colorado. And I think there were some concerns around cash on the balance sheet too. So I think that's really the overhang that you're seeing today.
Which is a shame because you got some new products that are seeming to take hold, right? And not just in the defense industry, you're expanding out into the medical side of things. You got a lot of positive things happening within the company. Completely different company than it's been for the last. I think you guys have been listed for 31 years, and a good chunk of those years was a very different company, right? And now you come in a couple of years, and you can see that your culture, your vision, and your team's vision. I mean, it isn't all just you, but
Definitely not.
they've bought in. Everybody's bought in. They're on the same page, right? And you're executing at a very high level. And that's a huge accomplishment, and it's being overshadowed by this bullshit. Excuse my French.
It is. And, it's frustrating. No question. I feel frustrated. And so does the team, although it doesn't change our future, right? The thing that we can focus on is what we can control, which is our order book, delighting customers, delivering on time in full, focusing the organization in the areas that we want to pursue, and trudge through to profitability. In 2 years, excuse me, in 2 years, I just celebrated my second year actually at Kopin last month. I'm very proud of the progress that we've made. We have more to do, don't get me wrong. I think the areas where I'm still focused is that path to profitability strategic initiative that we have. I think, though, if you take out the SG&A costs of the lawsuit and you look at our gross margin profile and the earnings per share without the legal costs, every quarter we've been doing better, every quarter. And I think I don't want to foreshadow our upcoming earnings, but my goal is to make sure that that continues and the margin profile continues. And then, as you can see, if you take a look back at our earnings, the earnings per share loss is getting better. Again, legal costs out. And once those legal costs come out completely, and they will, this will get flushed through the system. We'll get back to normal days. We want to be a profitable business, and I think, will have a good trajectory for that for the rest of this year, and certainly next year. I do believe we'll cross that chasm. And the reason we can cross that chasm is we've been adding automation to our systems. We've been really looking at what innovations we go to market with. And I'm very pleased to report the new Kopin versus the old Kopin. Our R&D spend, which was at one point $9 million to $10 million of internal research and development, is now around 7% to 8% of revenue. But we released 5 new projects this year, 5 new programs this year that we funded, all have purchase orders today in the same year that we released them. And that, to me, is huge. Every dollar we put in research and development now has a purchase order behind it. And I presented this recently, 5 new programs: DAVAS, Darkwave, R15, the 2K version of the 3D AOI product, and now the CR3 product was just being picked up by, I believe Carl Zeiss actually now has it on their website, which is huge for the company. And then the 6th one that just went into production, our OLED for F-35, which was a research and development program with a customer. But the 5 organic research and developments that we've done this year since I started all have POs today, all have customers today. And that's very different and unique for Kopin and in the marketplace.
It's so hugely different. I mean, it was constant R&D, constant R&D, constant R&D.
Yep.
Show us how you can make money with the other stuff first before you start going off into these other things, right? So you seem, I mean, you're focusing on the things that are working, which was I can't say that was what was happening before. It was like, you start something, they would come out with something, it seemed like it was a good thing, and then all of a sudden we're off to this new next potential project, right? Without showing that these other ones are making any money, right?
Right. And I think
different approach.
It is, and it's a different focus. And I think you hit it exactly right. Our focus right now, when you think about the technology and the markets, it's 2 separate things, right? Kopin always thought about the markets as technology. That's not, in my view, that's not the case. That's our R&D company. The way I look at the market is, okay, what does the market, serviceable, available market, say to me that we can actually go grow, right? So I took a large beating from many people that are watching this right now for pivoting out or away from consumer. The reason I did that, which turned out to be correct, is I didn't believe the consumer market was ready for us to go invest tens of millions of dollars into Metaverse and the Vision Pro and what have you. I didn't think it was ready for us to take that level of risk. And I think that was a good call. Pivoting towards focusing on defense at that point in time, I think was the right call as well. Because if you follow Lockheed Martin or Raytheon or any of these big, metal vendors, they're saying this industry is going to be a growth industry until 2030. And what you see going on in Israel and Ukraine, Korea, et cetera, I'm sorry, folks, it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And you're going to need Kopin material in the F-35, the Abrams tank family, the thermal weapon sight programs, sniper programs we're involved in, DAVAS, night vision goggles. All of these things will be growth industries until 2030, unfortunately. But we pivoted at the right time. We have great products to serve our customers with now. And now we have a great innovation in neural display that solves some of the consumer programs and problems that they're having. And yes, Michael Murray is going to say consumer on your show, For the first time in 2 years, I will actually say we are active in consumer and we do have a consumer strategy. And I'm not talking about it further than that, but we do have a consumer strategy. And the consumer market, quite frankly, is coming to us. And the reason they're coming to us is the reason why we thought they weren't going to be successful in the future, which was it's too heavy, too power hungry, too expensive, and it has too much heat and weight to it. And being able to do eye tracking within a micro display solves a lot of those problems. Not all of them, but some of them. And I think it's a really compelling technology for the warfighter as well as the spatial computing device user. And both are telling us we're heading in the right direction.
You know what? You nailed it. I mean, yeah, nobody likes to see war. I don't think anybody likes to see war, right? But the reality is wars happen. And we need to be um, in a position to be able to deal with that, right? And people may not like that, but that's just the fact of life, right?
It is, and actually, to your point, you're exactly right. We don't invite war. We end wars, right? As a young kid, I got in a fight in hockey, and my dad was really upset at me. And I said, "Why are you upset?" He said, "Don't ever get in a fight that you can't finish." So I never did. But he said, also, if you do get into a fight where you have to defend yourself, win. And
Wait,
that always stuck with me, right? And not that I've been in a few scraps here or there, but the thing is, I think for the United States and our allies right now is we've taught our adversaries how to build the capabilities that we build with a bad thought process a number of years ago that the US Department of Defense was going to build everything with off-the-shelf technology. Well, the problem, Tim, with off-the-shelf technology is if I leave my night vision goggles in the theater of war, wherever they may be, they can get into the hands of the Russians or the Chinese or the North Koreans or the Iranis. And they just open it up and they go, okay, look at these parts that are in here. I can buy these off the shelf and I can go build my own. So why do you think it's some mystery that Russia and China and North Korea have caught up so quickly? It's because they're using off the shelf devices and they're not unique. They're not pushing technology in defense, and they haven't been for the last few decades. Therefore, the CHIPS Act comes into play, and now we're spending billions of dollars. And interestingly, and this is what's important for Kopin, Senator Molinar out of Ohio wrote a paper about the dependency of the United States on foreign display technology and sensor technology. He stated in that open article and essay that the United States needs domestic OLED and micro LED capability. And while that came out, guess who was on Capitol Hill? So we are very focused on working with the government and the government customer. The customer is willing to support Kopin in DPA funding as well as CHIP Act funding to increase our capabilities here in the United States. I'm not saying we're going to get those monies, but we are applying for CHIPS Act and DPA funding. That is public knowledge. And we think it's a good investment into our capability here in the United States. So we continue down that path of pursuing CHIPS Act and DPA funding for those reasons.
yeah, I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for this comment I'm about to make, but that's okay. I don't care. I think if there is an administration change, um, I think a lot of those government programs that you just mentioned to help with the cost of those programs, I think a lot of the government programs are going to change, and I think the change would be better for everybody. I think the government program, I think we have too many government agencies and too many government programs. That's my personal belief, right? I mean, defending the country, I think, is the number one priority. We haven't been doing a very good job of that for the last 3.5 years, 4 years.
I would agree that also we have not done a good job with NATO. I thought we needed to apply a lot more pressure with NATO. We are applying more pressure with NATO, but other countries are not spending their 2% of GDP. As an example, if Canada, the UK, and some of the Baltic countries actually do spend 2% of GDP on NATO like they're supposed to, Tim, that's billions and billions of dollars that all come back to US The reason it comes back to the US is they buy our weapons and they buy our systems and services. So putting more pressure on NATO as we are and need to and do a better job of, I think will help, obviously, Kopin. Whenever you hear of an F-35 in the news, you should think Kopin. Whenever you hear, a new rifle coming into service, you should be thinking Kopin. Anytime you hear night vision goggles, you should be thinking Kopin, because those technologies are supported by US DoD primes, and we're very well positioned, as you know, in those areas. Like I said, Lockheed Martin and Raytheon are saying defense is a growth industry for 2030, and we are on those programs as a sole source provider of microdisplays and systems. So,
I mean, there's so many things that are so exciting. Let's talk about the medical application that
yeah,
that seems to be getting some traction, right?
it absolutely is. And the thought process here, folks, it's actually very simple. You're driving your car, you check your blind spot, you move your hands. Your hands follow your head. And for surgeons,
Hey there, folks. I want to tell you about a new app that I am very excited about. If you want to up your investing game with Wall Street wisdom, stay informed, save time, and gain an edge, then you're going to want to check out this app, Stock Pick. You can discover pro tips from top investors and expert curated financial news, all in quick video short form clips. I've been using this app and I got to tell you, I love it. I am extremely impressed with the quality of the content. It keeps me informed, and I have to tell you, I've used all kinds of comparable services out there. This one is priced at 79 US. It is a steal of a deal. And right now, on top of that, you can get an additional 25% off. I'm telling you, folks, I think you're going to love this app. Go to the description of this video and find the link. Make sure you use my code to get that 25% off.
they, as it sits today, they actually look at a monitor above the patient. So they're constantly moving their head up and down. So what we've created is a heads-up display that takes 3D imaging from our customers and our vendors. So we don't develop that technology, but we display it. So the surgeon can actually look at you, the patient, which they should be looking at, and just with their eyes, look up into 3D rendering of what they're seeing through the cameras, which is really revolutionary. And the math, is very simple. The amount of malpractice cases outweighs the cost of this headset by far. So we think it's going to be very successful. We do have several customers that are interested in working with us in that area through our partner HMDMD, great company built by surgeons. And I was told that we're now up on, I think, the Carl Zeiss website. They're offering it as one of their products to their customers. And I think they're one or two in the industry. I think they might be number one in the industry for visualization and surgical suites. So that market is still new for us, but we are seeing orders. We just shipped our new production order. It's a great profit margin for the company because we're not gated like we are in defense. And it's a cool product. It works very, very well. It's very well designed, great quality, great displays. They're OLED displays from Kopin in there. And I think it's a real cool technology.
You know, I don't know what I read. I read so much stuff, but they were talking about, why AR and VR hasn't really taken hold the way that everybody had assumed that it was gonna go. And a big portion of it was, just comfort of what you're wearing. And a lot of those things are big and bulky and, have some weight to them. And it seems to me, because surgeons can wear things, I mean, they can be in a surgery for 13 hours straight, right?
Right.
And having something like that on your head would be, I could see where that would get uncomfortable, right? But you guys seem to have tackled that problem with this particular device.
We did, and part of it is the ergonomic design. If you look at it, the actual viewing compartment or box is actually quite small, and the back of the unit is quite large. And the reason we did that is we put the weight distribution at the back of the head as opposed to the front of the nose, because what ends up happening is you have what's called cantilever weight. So the more weight you put on your nose, it turns into 8 times the amount of weight on the back of your neck. So you're constantly doing this. That's part of the problem with some of the night vision goggles, as an example. Warfighters are walking around like this all the time. Puts a lot of strain on your neck. So there's not a lot of weight on the eyes, and that way the surgeon can move their head up and down as they need to, and only using their eyes look up at the eye box. So it's very light at the front. The weight is at the back where it's always tied off anyway, and this is not a wireless application. This is a wired application, and the wires go down the back of the surgeon, which they're used to anyway from other implementations and other tools that they use. So it's very ergonomically designed. The surgeons that we talk to love it. And you can see some of the early adoptions from other companies. They look like football helmets. They're not well designed, but this is very, very well designed.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. Actually, it's now that I completely understand how that works, that would be a good thing for posture, right? For walk into a room with your head up, your chin up, shoulders back.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a real thing. These surgeons, to your point, they're in surgery theater for 10 hours, 12 hours, and their necks get tired, their hands start to shake because of it, because of the pain and discomfort. And that's the last thing you want if you have a brain surgeon or heart surgeon, right? You don't want them looking up, you want them looking at you to fix you. But one of the things that's really cool that we learned, and I think one of the big changes at Kopin, I hope that we're doing better at, and I believe that we are, is listening to the customer and doing what the customer wants us to do. When I say customer, I mean the actual surgeon or the warfighter or the spatial computing user themselves. I think Kopin in the past, we're great scientists, we're great engineers, and we have a thought process of what the design should be. But in reality, it's actually the user that knows what they want. And in this case, take the medical application as an example. One of the things that we learned was surgeons get tired. They're just human beings. And when they get tired, they blink very quickly and their eyes get very narrow. But we don't put a camera in this system. And one of the feedback loops from the customer was, well, we want to know when a surgeon's getting too tired or a pilot's getting too tired because they start to squint, they blink a lot, their eyes get dry. Okay, well, that's going to be neural display in the future. Neural display has tiny little imaging pixels. They're not cameras. They're just looking for white, gray, and black. And they can count how many times you blink. So that's an application where neural display comes in to say, look, if you're blinking too much and your eyes are narrowing, you're tired. Okay, flag the play, get the surgeon to get a break if they can, or the pilot to get a break if they can, or at least know when a surgeon needs to stop and take a break. And that way they can plan surgeries a little bit better and make sure that the surgeon's fully capable for the entire surgery, or the pilot isn't tired for the entire flight, et cetera, et cetera. So that feedback loop is really important. Having the human in the loop is very important. And that's what Kopin is now doing better, I think, than anybody in the industry, is really understanding the use cases, or what we call application-specific solutions. That is the big change in Kopin, and that's why we're being successful with things like Daywave or NightVAS and our daytime solutions as well, like DayVAS.
So, with 5 products, that's pretty damn impressive. Have orders for every single product, right?
With key customers, by the way. And we've announced these, so I'm not speaking out of school. Mirtech is one of the best 3D AOI companies in the world, period. They picked up the R15 as an early adopter, which is great for us. Wilcox is our customer for DayVAS and DarkWave. They own 60% of the world's market share in advanced helmets, which all snap into these products, snap into their helmet structures. And obviously the F-35 program being a great win for us on the OLED side, that we're now going into production. And then CR3, getting HMDmd, working with them, and they're the interface to folks like Carl Zeiss, and having Carl Zeiss have that on their website is a huge, huge deal for us, and a great win for the company. So doing much better in that area for sure.
And you just said the C word. There might be something coming over there. I mean, wow. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. These are the things that matter, right? You're just getting started with these new products. I mean, they're just started. This is the beginning of the cycle, right? And
Yep.
There's going to be, and you're working with customers to come up with even more stuff, right? Enhanced products that I mean, this is all great, great news, right? The thing that is and this is what upsets me about the whole situation is that your culture has kicked in. You are executing on all levels. And then you've got this overhang of this, what I just want to call it a bullshit case from prior. It shouldn't even be there. Is my feeling is they had, but anybody that's looking at this and thinking, you hired the best appellate attorney in New York, right? And look, that may not have been cheap, but absolutely the right thing to do. I don't think you want to go with some, you want to go with the best, right? Let me ask you this, and I know you probably can't talk much about what's going on there. I
Yep.
just want to ask you this. Do you feel as though that attorney are you happy that you hired that attorney?
I think so. First things first, if you look back to March of this year, around when we first met, the stock was 280, somewhere in that realm. The fundamentals of the company are better than they were that day in March, period, full stop. And I think our results will be better moving forward than they were in March, period, full stop. And I would say, the culture is doing better. To your point, I still think we have work to do on the path to profitability, and I'll take hard decisions around that because next year we are going to cross that chasm. But again, you can see our improvement quarter over quarter. You take the legal fees out, you can see improvement in our gross margin and our earnings per share. We had one dip because of an issue. I think it was in Q4. Those things will happen, unfortunately. But we've been marching along, and I hope you'll see in the next earnings releases and future earnings releases that line continues towards the break-even point. And if you can see the line with 3 data points or 4 going in that trajectory, we're doing the right things. And that's what gives me confidence in that we'll cross that chasm next year. So that's number one. Number two, the lawsuit. I don't want to talk about it other than to say, we are not done fighting. I believe wholeheartedly that I have to defend our company, and I will with the best resources that I can bring to bear. And hiring Quinn Emanuel was part of that process. I am encouraged by their view of our defense, and I'm also very encouraged about their view of our ability to appeal. There was some movement in the case last week where we were able to motion the court in Colorado to have our patent attorneys, Hamilton Brooks Smith Reynolds, their verdict or judgment in their case where Blue Radios sued them on the same, relatively the same set of facts for different purposes, but the same product line, the same time frames, et cetera. In that case, the judge found in favor of Hamilton Brooks Smith on the statute of limitations. So we wrote a paper to the judge in Colorado. He accepted that paper. Blue Radios was able to respond, and we responded in kind with our response. In that response, we entered the judgment from the case in Massachusetts. These are all facts, and the judge is considering them. So I don't know what that means. The judge right now has within his gift to award Blue Radios with the jury award, or pardon me, the jury advisory, which was the $20 million of damages on Colorado Trade Secret Act and DTSA, Defend Trade Secret Act. That is what the judge needs to consider and provide final judgment on, which we do not have today. And I took the decision, albeit a very difficult decision, to raise capital in lieu of that and thinking about that so that we could be prepared to post the bond to appeal this decision, whatever it might be. To do that now or last month versus doing it after the final judgment, it was my view and my decision to do the raise prior to the final judgment because I felt like it would be more dilutive to do it after. I don't know if I'm right about that. Don't know if
I
I'm wrong about that.
I want to emphasize that point. Anybody that had an issue with the actions that you took, you didn't. There is no question that you made the right move, right? Because you get the ruling, and it's not a favorable ruling. What do you think? How are you going to raise? How are you even going to raise? Because they're going to rake you over the coals, man. I mean,
The stock would not be in a place where we could even
have no leverage,
right.
zero, none, right? You basically, your story is out there for your parents are down and everybody knows it. That's the bottom line,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
I mean, terrible. I mean, that's probably not a great way, but that's the reality of it, right?
It's,
It's gonna hurt. It's
it,
gonna hurt, and you did the responsible thing. So there are people that probably took it, got, I'm sure you got some heat for it, but look, this is a situation that you have to prepare yourself for.
right,
And you did it right out of the chute, which was the way to do it, right?
right.
Imagine doing it now. I mean, the stock is sitting at what, 75 cents, right? So how many shares are you going to have to do to raise the capital? I mean, how many warrants and ratchets? I mean, who knows what the hell they would have came back with you with,
It would
right?
have been ugly, in my view, and we'll see if I'm right or wrong. But the thing is, I have 175 mortgages to pay, right, including my own. No one cares about that. But I have 175 mortgages to pay, and I have the world's biggest, best customers with the world's biggest, best systems that we're sole sourced on that I have to deliver for. And that was the main reason we did the raise is we have a $55 million order book as of Q2. And I was sitting on, I think it was around 18 million of cash at that point. So we had to do a raise anyway at some point because of our backlog, number one. Number two, we need to invest in neural display. We have the tiger by the tail right now with that technology. We've patented it. Customers are very interested in it, and I need to invest in it in some meaningful way. And I was thinking about doing a strategic investment in that, and I still might, by the way, because it's going to take several millions of dollars, potentially even $10 million to get that to production. So, but we've got customer demand forming on it now. So those were the main reasons. The third reason is, hey, how much do I need to raise in order to pay this bond in cash so that I can get to an appeal where we have a tremendous opportunity to appeal this judgment because of the facts from the HBSR case, number one. Number two, we think that we've got a better platform to appeal now with Quinn Emanuel running that. And quite frankly, number three, we know that we've got some other areas in this trial that we were unhappy with, and we want to make sure that we have that view at the federal level of appeals, where you take the kind of hometown out of it, right? I'm not saying that happened or didn't happen. I'm just saying is we had a contract with these folks. We paid money to these folks, and we want to defend ourselves.
And they had patents, right, on the technology. The company that you're in court with, they had patents that are public, right?
Yeah. So part of I can't get into the HBSR case because I don't know enough to talk about it, but there was some questions around, who owns patents and who was assigned patents at any given time. But in our case is about contract and trade secrets. And in our case, if you have a patent, it is a public document that you can go view. So if it's public and it includes trade secrets, well, it's public. So
Right.
I don't quite know how you can steal something that's public. So anyway, I'll leave that to the lawyers. I try to stay out of those discussions other than to say, in my view, my personal view, and our board's view, will defend ourselves until it becomes financially viable to settle. And if it becomes financially viable to settle, we will. If it doesn't, we will defend ourselves. It's just that simple. So, we'll see what happens.
Right. If this thing winds up getting, and I'm just throwing this out there, there's no indication that this would happen, but if this thing gets thrown out, where's that put you?
Ah, I would love that to happen, firstly. I think it should happen, quite frankly, personally. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but I think it would send the stock into a great place pretty quick, I would assume. And if we have more cash in the balance sheet, great. I've got other investments that we can make into other materials and other capabilities that I want to put into Kopin that are either adjacent to or include more of our technology and microdisplays and potentially lenses, as an example. So the money will not be spent frivolously. The money will be spent wisely. And I think hopefully folks know over the last 2 years, if they really look at the financials, again, all the legal stuff out of SG&A, we have done a fantastic job of controlling our costs, hitting our G&A numbers. Revenue has been increasing quarter over quarter. Our order book has been increasing at pretty dynamic rates, and our gross margin has continually improved. But our control of our cash outside of the legal expenses has been exemplary. Rich has done a very good job controlling cash, and so have we. And what we spend our money on in terms of research and development, which is within my gift to do, we again have 5 new products this year, and all 5 of them have purchase orders and customers today.
How are your relations with your customers? Do you feel as though you've had an improvement in relationships with your customers?
Yeah. I think, testament to the team. We have a fantastic business development and program management team that I've built up here the last couple of years. Bill Mafucci leads our business development team. He is fantastic. He's very well regarded in the industry. We brought in some absolute stars into the business development organization. We're hiring 2 more, by the way. We're hiring 2 more business development people as we speak. Because there's so much demand and opportunity, we have to. And we may have even a little consumer strategy going on too, that's in the background. So yeah, we're staffing up in that case. But our program management office is exemplary. These folks are doing a great job. Look, we still have our problems, right? We still struggle in some areas, but our customers respect our program management office. We tell the truth. When we have an issue, we tell people. When we have an issue with quality, we take on that responsibility and we solve it, and we don't let it happen again. And that has changed the narrative with the customers that we've had. But look at the customers that we brought on. Lockheed Martin and the Stinger program. That's a big, big program. That could be 100,000 Stinger missile launchers over the course until 2030. We're doing the R&D on that now. Blue Halo, a new customer for us. We're doing a binocular for them, and I believe a NATO country that they're selling to. The Navy, we brought on a new contract with them. Wilcox, we have multiple contracts with Wilcox. The CR3 module with HMDmd, Carl Zeiss, all new customers for us. We've got some new customers that we're about to announce as well. And then a few that we can't announce, quite frankly, because they won't let us. But that's okay. But the customer adoption rate has gone up. But more importantly to your question, Tim, the satisfaction of our customers has gone up. It's not where I want it to be yet. We can do better, and we are going to do better. We have to do better. But we're in a much better place than we were even last year at this time, even 6 months ago at this time. So,
and that's the whole dynamic of the culture change, right?
Right.
It's all coming down from the top. It's filtered, but it's filtering through, and it's holding. I mean that's the exciting thing, right? It's a whole different company. I mean, you can see it. It's a whole different company, and
It is.
yeah, you've hit an obstacle, and even the way you're handling the obstacle. I mean, this is kind of what I love about actually challenges, right? Is okay. How is he going to handle this challenge? This one hit you from left field, right? I think so far you have handled it extremely well. Even though you took heat for doing a raise, you're doing the right things by the shareholder, whether they recognize it or not, right? You're doing the right things, and that just gives me more confidence about the future of Kopin. This is a little shitty period right now. What it really is one hell of an opportunity to buy a stock in a company that has, you just heard, this is going to be a growth industry from, some of the biggest players in the industry until 2030, right? You got 5 new product categories that are all have orders, and this is just the beginning of their life cycle, right? You've got other stuff. You even brought up consumers twice, right? This is all good stuff. There's nothing here. The only bad stuff is stuff that you have no control over from a long time ago, right? But
Yeah,
if you look at Michael, what Michael's got happening and his team, it's all good stuff. And that's what should excite everybody. And you should look at this as a gift. I mean, honestly, it's a gift. It's an opportunity to I mean, like I said, if this thing gets thrown out, if it doesn't get thrown out, it's going to be it's going to be a stinger. It'll be dealt with, and then, but you're going to still focus on the things that matter, which is satisfying the customer, growing the customer base, right? Diversifying beyond just, I mean, defense, but that is where you should have had your focus. You're doing things you're doing things really, really well, man. I don't think you're getting enough credit for the job you're doing.
I appreciate that. It's I would say this. I received 100 things when I took over Kopin, and 99 of them are good. The one not so good thing is I can't change history, right? And all I can do is manage through it. But I'm really proud of the team that despite all of this other stuff going on around the lawsuit and what have you, we've been very focused. And I'm really proud of the team that we've been focused on delivering to customers, growing our order book, rebranding, refocusing. We've got a new brand, a new logo, a new website, a new ethos, a new sales team that's really focused in delivering. And to do that all within this overhang has been tough. It has been tough, but the team is executing, and it will get solved, right? Once we post the bond, whatever that might be, the money goes up and we go through the appellate process. But at that point in time, it's done, in my view. It's all upside for us, quite frankly. If we win the appeal, great. Otherwise, it's over here. It's on a shelf somewhere to be dealt with on another day, and we just continue on through the appeal process, and we focus on delivering to our customers. So it will get solved. And I always think about the Warren Buffett quote, right? You invest in companies when they have a very large solvable problem with a great management team. That's an opportunity. That's how you make money in stocks. And that's what I look for as a personal investor. I look for areas where, companies have had that big perturbation or that big problem that they got to, traverse. The stock takes a big hit. That's when you buy, right? You don't buy it when it's up here. At least you tell me. You're the expert. I'm not. But
Well, listen, I mean,
that's the way I look at it.
you look at what's happening right now in the market. You got 7 companies that I think are at valuations that are very scary and hard to justify. And it's at some point the air will come out of those things. And then I look at companies like this one that, I mean, are those companies that are holding up the markets, are those going to double or triple? I mean, they could. I'm not going to say they couldn't. They could. They better solve cancer or something, right? I mean, to justify that. Do I think Kopin could be a double or a triple, or do I think Kopin could be a 10-bagger at some point? Absolutely. I absolutely see that. I see the industry that you're in. Optics are not going to go away. The need for them are not going to go away because you've got robotics, you've got drones, you've got so many things that are going to require optics, right?
Yep.
thermal imaging. I mean, I think you're just getting started. This could be, forget the defense, that being, I think optics in general are going to be a growth industry
For
for
sure.
a while,
For
right?
sure. No question. I absolutely agree with you. And the market data is all saying, 19 to 28% compound annual growth rate until 2030 in optical systems or vision systems, whether it's medical, consumer, industrial, or defense, it floats all boats, right? And for us, I think we're in a very unique position that we're the only US company left building micro displays that's owned by and housed here in the United States. Our largest competitor, Imagine, was acquired by Samsung. So we're very unique in that case that we build four different types of microdisplays: OLED, LCD, liquid crystal on silicon, and the vanguard of technology, micro LED. And we just invented a fifth version of the microdisplay, which is an AI-enabled, software-defined backplane. And that backplane can house OLED or micro LED. And that's the neural display technology. In fact, we've been written up in a number of magazines recently. They're coming out very, very soon, including Defense Daily, Axios, Popular Mechanics, et cetera, et cetera. So they're understanding the capability that Kopin has and will bring to the market, whether it's in consumer or in defense. We're solving the same problem, and that problem is you and me. You have different eyesight than I do, right? My eyesight is different. My right eye is different than my left eye. So
Yep.
how do you propose to have a spatial computing device that's the same for 2 million people?
Everybody,
The
right?
answer is you can't. And so they're going back to the drawing board and trying to remove all these cameras that are doing eye tracking. But with neural display technology, we removed 6 cameras out of the Apple Vision Pro as an example. All the co-processing that needs to go along with that, the circuitry that needs to go along with that, the heat, power consumption, size, weight, cost, da 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 da. So in my view, coming out of analog devices for the last decade and a half, system integration and integrated circuits or ICs or semiconductors, they're going to win the day, in my view, in spatial computing. Sensor systems and software-defined sensor systems is how the cell phone market took off in reality, because each individual component was then integrated into an IC. Therefore, costs came down, power came down, and the size came down. No difference here. Integration is going to win at the spatial computing device companies, and neural interfaces, not brain chips, but we can do that too. Taking the feedback from humans in the loop is what's going to win the day as well. And we already do that with neural display, keeping the human in the loop, being able to support dynamic brightness and contrast controls is a big thing for users. And we're the only ones that have it. And we do have it patented. So we think we're going to.
You brought something up, and I don't know if you got to really emphasize the importance of this, but the whole globalization thing was good for a little bit. The fact that we are now, I mean, drones come 2026, there's no more Chinese drones being flown in the US to do any infrastructure or any of that kind of stuff, right? Intellectual property. I'm loving the fact that we're manufacturing things in the United States again, right? And I hope that trend continues. I think we have no choice. It's going to continue, and
Yep.
that's good for everybody. There was a time in this country where buying made in the USA was something that you were proud to do, and the reason you did it was because, yeah, it was made here in the United States, and the quality was top notch,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And we got away from that, and we need to get that back, man. I mean, I can't see how that would be a bad thing.
No, especially in defense. And one of the things that frustrated me as a taxpayer is, when the government decided that the Army was only going to be able to use off-the-shelf components, no more custom, no more working with semiconductor technology companies. You have to buy what you buy out, just like everybody else. That created a consumerism approach to defense. And what happens with that is, okay, you build your technology. Let's take a night vision goggle as an example. and you go over to the theater of war and you leave that for whatever reason. Well, now our adversaries can pick up that night vision goggle, take it apart, look at the part numbers of all the different semiconductors that make that up, pull the software out, and now they made their own night vision goggle that's just as good or better than ours, right? So we taught our adversaries how to do what we do, and then we stopped investing. I wonder why they're as good as we are or better than we are in some cases now. Like when you look at some of the fifth generation fighter aircraft, you're like, wow, that looks a lot familiar. No difference here. So the CHIPS Act and the DPA acts that are going on right now, there was a letter by Senator Molinar out of Ohio that stated the country needs to have its own domestic OLED and micro LED manufacturing capability. And there's no company that can build that today for the US Department of Defense. Well, firstly, he was wrong about that. Kopin can build that stuff. And secondly, he was right that we also need more fabrication capability in the United States. He was right about that. Therefore, that's why I was on Capitol Hill the last number of months, working with our local senators and our local congressmen for a DPA plus up on our micro LED strategy, a OLED strategy for the United States, and then a larger program, which I can't talk about just yet, in CHIPS Act, which would be a much larger request out of the United States for Kopin and one of our partners to develop the neural display architecture here in the United States because it is AI enabled. I can't send it anywhere else, so it's got to be done here. So we're working with Capitol Hill on those items. We have 3 requests, or actually 2 requests in now, and a third coming in very shortly for funding from the government. We don't talk about that in our earnings calls or what have you, because we don't know if we'll receive those monies. But if we do, we'll put them to work building microdisplays here in the United States and optics for our U.S. Department of Defense.
When are your earnings coming out?
Next couple of weeks. I think we're trying to pick the day. We're supposed to announce the day of the election, which I don't think
nice.
so, I don't know. It's 50-50 before or after. We're trying to figure that out. Yeah, it'll be around the election. So, but I do hope that you tune in and listen. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
All right, Michael. Listen, you feel as though I missed anything, man? Is there anything you're super excited about that is coming out? I mean, you feel as though maybe you've got some kind of a catalyst that's out there that hasn't been, but it's looking pretty good. Like there might be something coming.
I think from our standpoint, we are still expecting several orders this quarter that are somewhat significant for volumes for next year. So we're still working on those orders. And I think if we do receive them, we'll have a record order book for the year that is a new level. And I've been explicit about this. My goal, our goal at Kopin is to be a $100 million revenue company by 2027. And with the contracts that we're bringing in, the new customers, the new products that we're releasing, I think we can achieve that. If we achieve that and we're profitable or break even, I think this is the last time you'll ever see our stock at 75 cents.
Oh, one thing, speaking of that, how long have you been have you gotten the letter from the NASDAQ on the?
We did. Yep. So we 8K'd that last week. We have until, I believe, April, if memory serves, to get back over $1 for 10 days. And we believe we'll do that organically. I'm not planning any sort of reverse split or anything like that. I think the overhang here, folks, is quite frankly the judgment. It's just simply that the street doesn't like uncertainty, as you folks know. But I unfortunately cannot control what the decision is or when the decision is coming on that lawsuit as much as I'd like to. So that's where we're at.
Okay. I mean, I look at it like this. Technically, the stock, I mean, the chart, the technical guys are looking at it. It's not a pretty chart. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But fundamentally, I think firing on all cylinders, right? Positioned well, regardless of what the outcome is with the ruling. Obviously, if the ruling goes in your favor, you're really, really positioned well. I mean, you're just solid, right? If the ruling comes out and it isn't in your favor, I still think you're positioned well. So, at some point, we just get over this thing, and then the fundamentals start to take over. And I think that, like you said, just talked about, if this thing gets thrown out, I think you're going to see a gap up in this thing, a dramatic gap up. It'll be halted. It'll be a fun ride. So look, I'm not telling anybody to buy the stock. It's not what I do. I am suggesting that you go and you sign up for their email alerts to keep an eye on just what's happening with the company. That way, when they do have news, it gets sent directly to your email, and you don't let this thing drop off your radar, because this is one that this story is really just getting started under Michael Murray. I mean, he's now been there going on a couple of years. Just from previous experience, it usually takes about 2 years for the new guy's vision, or new gal's vision to take hold, the culture to take hold. And I can clearly see it. There is no comparison to the company Kopin is today to what it was. And Michael and his team have not been fairly rewarded for what they've accomplished, but I think that will come. Time heals all wounds, and this is one wound that it's going to be healed. I can tell you. I just see it. I feel it. This is one you absolutely want to keep an eye on, Michael. Let's try not to wait so long in between. But if you have anything that of significance that comes up, let's have you back and do a real quick follow up.
No, I'd love to, and I appreciate the conversation and opportunity. The one last thing I'll leave you with is you're exactly right. Kopin is a different company. We now also have a new board. We've been very successful bringing in some top-notch people. Marnie Seif, former general counsel at Analog Devices for many, many years. Dave Newsma, who was the former president of Collins Aerospace. And we just brought on Paul Walsh, who you may know. He was the CFO of Silicon Labs and at one point the CFO of Allegro as well. So he's now our audit chair. So the board is completely different, and so is the leadership, and so is the focus. So new day, new opportunity. We're focused. We continue to win, and that's all we can control. The rest of the overhang will take care of itself once we receive this judgment and move past it.
Yeah, I can't wait until that. I can't wait until that time. Right? It's gonna be so much more fun.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, Michael. Thanks, man. Hold on one second. I'm gonna turn this off. Thank you for tuning in to another CEO interview here at Alpha Wolf Capital. Today we had Michael Murray from Kopin Industries, ticker symbol KOPN. If you like today's interview, do us a favor, give us a like. How about giving us a share? While you're at it, make sure you smash that subscribe button. All of those things are extremely important to us here at Alpha Wolf Capital. We appreciate you taking the time to do that. Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Capital wishes you the very best of success.